Care Chats, Care Chats with Tanya, Mark, and Nick. Care Chats, Care Chats with Tanya, Mark, and Nick. Grab a mug of care and join us for some Care Chats with Tanya, Mark, and Nick.
Yes, please. The inspiration behind this is that I feel that Nick, you and I and other magical people, we all have these magical conversations around these just potent energies that could be very useful for others, our universe, the collective. And it has been something on my radar to like be like, I want to just record conversations, dope ass conversations I have with magical people. And so this is really an iteration of a care chat between Nick and Tanya Mark. And where this comes from and where it was inspoed from is that Nick and I come together twice a week outside of Circle Space. And when we do that, we center care. So we ground in and then we do care check ins with each other. And these care check ins include just checking in and talking about what's happening in the world and what's happening in the planet, on the planet, with the planet, and how we're navigating it.
And what's happening in our lives.
Thank you. Yes. And so, yeah, we wanted to come in and share about our shared time today. We thought was just really like, wow, this stuff is what others are navigating. So we wanted to come in and have a care chat with Tanya, Mark, and Nick.
So today we were talking about boundaries and families.
We don't say the B word, the B word. Yes, we were. We have been talking about boundaries. And we've been talking about it in the context of Mars in retrograde. So I just want to name this that Mars is in retrograde in the sign of Cancer. And what that can invite folks to do is take a look at care, nurturing, family in all iterations. And so Nick and I have been talking about how this has been showing up in our lives.
And Mars is all about boundaries and exerting force where you need to.
Being bold, right? Yeah. Being bold, being in the driver's seat. Mars is about cars, right? So I look at that as, can we be in the driver's seat around our own care and nurturing and family? And so, yeah, we started talking about, we had these kind of, to be honest, badass moments with our boundaries over the weekend. And so we wanted to name that. And obviously we're going to respect the anonymity of others that are involved. And so we'll just name it as family or whatever, some type of generic term, because we want to be respectful of all people's care. And we just want to get into it with you. So, Nick, I think you kicked it off, right? Because you had this very empowering, I don't even want to give it away. Like, it was so good. It had me screaming in the backyard. Like, my neighbors were like, wow, what's going on over there?
Yeah, I had a moment where I felt like someone who I don't even really have that close of a relationship with had been communicating with me a lot around a particular event that I chose not to attend. And then they got really upset that I didn't show up. Even though they weren't at least I didn't think they were expecting me to. And then they felt the need to tell me how disappointed they were in me. And I'm just like, I don't I don't have a close relationship with you. I barely know you. You're a friend of a friend. And yeah, I'm not going to be the person that you use to process your grief or to process your disappointment or your guilt around your relationship with this other person.
That's right. That's right. You came with a big no, with a big responsive no, right?
Yeah, but my no came in the form of just silence because like I'm not even, it doesn't even warrant me responding to them. And they did not invite me into a conversation when they were laying all that guilt on top of me. They were just, dumping on me. And so I decided to just block them.
Wow, yes.
And, because it's not worth my time and energy, especially given the way the world is going today. It's like, this is not That's not where I need to be putting my energy right now.
Yeah, Nick and I, we connect the dots a lot. So the dot that we were connecting right when Nick was sharing all this badassery was I was like, yes, this is the exact energy that our collective needs right now. We're invited to find ways of saying no, and no in silence is so potent because it's basically, someone's showing up and going, you want to dance? And then you're like, no, with silence. And so,
And that also feels very Cancerian to me too. It's like
ooh,
it's like the
yes.
crab who is either sidestepping or just hiding
Ooh,
inside their shell.
mm,
So I'm
yeah.
sidestepping and just hiding inside my shell because I'm just like, I don't need to
Protection.
expend
Mm-hmm.
any energy engaging with you in this way where they're not inviting me into what feels like an open, collaborative conversation. They just wanted
Yes.
to shame and blame me, and I'm just like, I'm not taking that on. Sorry.
Yes. And if we connect the dot to what's happening in our collective with all of this very like shock, well, not very, it's not like, it's the shock and awe and these rapid, very like trying to get reaction. I think that, Nick is carrying this medicine of like, we can silently say no. And that's a response, meaning we're not getting into it. It's not getting into it. We're not adding fuel to the fire. And I just want to name that because I do feel that there's a form of activism there. And there's all types of activism. And in this way, it's not running away from something. It's actually seeing it for what it is and just simply saying no with silence. Like, I see what's coming and I'm just not going to engage. And so I think that's also something we can, consider navigating, right? In so many ways in what's happening in our world right now. So I really appreciated you naming that badassery and how I could just, when you shared it, you just sounded so empowered. You were like, and it was just like, yes. And I'm like, yes, we need that. And so, yeah, thank you for naming that.
Well, I think it also taps into one of the practices we did in our care circle over the weekend around the four immeasurables, and it's equanimity. How can I
Yeah.
be engaged and present without preference? Although, then this time I'm just like, I'm not engaging
Hmm.
because it's not, you're not interested in engaging me in a mindful way. So I'm
Hmm.
choosing not to engage with you, but I'm still being present with myself.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, y'all. That's, really you're getting like, again, here's another connect the dot. These are the things we talk about and honor, and then it goes into the curation of our circles. And so, ooh, I want to connect. I'm going to connect it right back there with my own experience and what happened in our, what we went through in meditation, over, practicing the immeasurables. I am navigating a family member. There's an incident in my family in which a family member has experienced a big shift due to an injury. And this injury happens to also be paired up with some chronic SUD, substance use disorder. And I name this from the place of not judgment at all. I come from a lineage of substance use disorder people, and I identify as being a person in recovery. And this was something that was very unexpected. And it has just absolutely like cracked open a lot of opportunities of growth for my family. And when I say that, I view them as opportunities of growth, and they are tender AF. And what has happened is that it has just activated these opportunities, that also have been very reactive. And yes, I have kind of dabbled in reaction too with it, and then come back and said, ooh, ooh, And so what I'm looking at boundary wise when implementing is from a place of love and compassion, which was what we also, were practicing in Third Sunday, being able to say no to my family and say, here's where this is what I observe. This is what I observe, may be needed. Here's where I'm available to participate and help, and, making that very clear. And then when the reactive energy is coming at me, just simply sticking to my boundary of like, I've shared where I'm at with things, and also practicing some silence, right? When the group text gets fueled with blah, 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 practicing silence and understanding that that too is a boundary, that it just disengages things. And so it's been really fucking tender, for real.
Yeah.
And boundaries are such a potent medicine. And I'm proud that I've been doing it for a long time, y'all. But honestly, it does not get, I never have an expectation that it's going to be easy when working with iterations of family and boundaries, because it just isn't.
Yeah. And TanyaMarck and I have been navigating all of these energies since the planetary energies started stirring up.
December. It started in December
No,
2024.
it was
Wait, before
in,
then.
no, it
Oh my God.
was around
Oh my God.
Halloween.
You're right. Eclipse season.
Because
Wasn't it the other?
wasn't that
Yep.
when the first Mars Pluto opposition was?
Yes, it is. Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
then, so connecting that dot, y'all, that opposition of what Mars is doing and the opposition to Pluto, Pluto is major transformation by like destruction and death. It's like, okay, like you want transformation? Let's break it down. And yeah, you're right. We have been talking about both of these iterations since then, and really centering on how do we take care of ourselves, right, and respond in care-centric ways, which has included like really bringing in boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
supporting each other through it. So I also want to name that medicine. There's an
Yeah.
importance in coming together and sharing what's happening in each other's lives, and then being able to go like, hey, like this is what I'm navigating, like, this is what I'm thinking about navigating and dealing, and then being able to share it with you, and then going, what do you think? And being super open to being like, because sometimes you've been like, yeah, maybe you want to pause, TanyaMarck, like, and I love that,
And
right?
then other
Because
times I've said no, send that email.
that's right. That's right. Send it. And so, and in supporting you, Nick, it's been, also the same thing. Like, oh, hey, Nick, maybe you want to consider, a pause on this for a moment and getting some clarity, or maybe going out. And, I think there's some nudges to go be in nature,
Mm-hmm.
right? To just like let all that stuff like slough off, right? Everything care centric, everything very like, yeah, let's take care of ourselves and trust that when we take care of ourselves and we bring those tools into practice, that, the universe has our back, and that, it may feel tender and it may feel vulnerable and scary and all of those things, but ultimately it's very empowering, to be like, these are my boundaries. This is where I stand.
Yeah.
Another important way to respond to our collective today.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you've been feeling these tensions around boundaries and relationships for a while, it makes sense given all the different stuff that's happening in our galaxy
Mm-hmm.
with our planets and all the stuff that's happening politically on the planet right now. And it's still going to be tender for a while. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's still a few more months of these planetary energies working themselves out.
Indeedy. And you know what? We will be continuing to facilitate our circles, and you can come and join us for some care centric practices on a first Saturday for some meditation, breath work, and movement, on a third Sunday for some chanting, toning, singing, movement, and then new for this year on a fourth Sunday. Fourth Sundays we are having our first queer people of the global majority, people of color care circle. So that is a space that we are so honored and proud to be a part of this year and bring into the queer spirit portal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we just really want to make sure that there's space for you to find support if you're feeling alone, to know that we have spaces here for you in our community. And if you can't attend, we have some recordings of them too. So you can find care in your own time and your own space, whatever works for you.
Yeah, y'all. So we just want to invite you to keep it care centric. You're a badass for having boundaries. You're a badass for exploring them, thinking about them, figuring them out, and just know that, here at Queer Spirit, Nick and I, we're with you, and we are not alone in any of this. And we also want to name all of the anti-queerness, and that by anti-legislation and all of those things, having boundaries and no's are also a really potent response to that as well. So I want to make sure that we're naming that and the medicine of how that connects to what's happening within our queer community.
Let's take a breath.
Oh, speaking my language.
Just let all that go, metabolize it, breathing in the support of oxygen, the food of our plant allies.
Yeah.
And breathing out all that we don't need, just letting go of those toxins, the stress, the anxiety.
And I'd like us to also sprinkle in a little shimmy and shake. Anytime we talk about these things, energy is like sticky, sticky. So we're just going to shake it, clear it, send it to Pachamama, the earth. Pachamama will take it and transmute it, transform it, and recycle it. So letting go what no longer serves, what's no longer useful. Thank you all for joining us for our care chat. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We got this.
We hope to see you again soon in our space.
Care chats. Care chats with Tanya, Mark, and Nick.